Which Dragon Ball anime is the very best of them all? It's a question that's on every Dragon Ball fan's mind. How would they rank every Dragon Ball anime series from best to worst? It's pretty obvious that Dragon Ball Z is the most popular, but does that make it the best? CBR decided to dig a little bit deeper into this question in order to come up with a definitive ranking of every Dragon Ball anime series, taking into consideration the original, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, the Kai recuts, and yes, even Dragon Ball GT. So let's get into the ranking, shall we? First things first, let's look at our contenders. In chronological order, we begin with the original Dragon Ball series, which started as a Journey to the West-inspired adventure story depicting the journeys of Goku and friends as they search for the mystical Dragon Balls, eventually shifting more towards a focus on martial arts and fighting, a shift that marked the beginning of the shonen anime/manga genre. The original Dragon Ball gave us, well, everything, yes. Dragon Ball Z is where the franchise hits its stride, but there would be no Goku, no Bulma, no Piccolo, and no martial arts focus if it wasn't for the original Dragon Ball series and the manga chapters that it adapted. Plus, the final saga of Dragon Ball, the Piccolo Jr. saga, was the precursor for epic fighting sagas like the Saiyan and Cell sagas. So Dragon Ball Z owes that to Dragon Ball, a major plus that'll be taken into consideration for the ranking. Though the manga would continue under the regular Dragon Ball title, time-skipping to when Goku had a son, this part of the manga was adapted into a new series, the second anime, Dragon Ball Z. This series was very quickly a fan favorite in America, since it saw wider broadcast before the original Dragon Ball and because it is the more action and fighting oriented of the two original series. On top of all that, Dragon Ball Z also introduced the Saiyans, not to mention the Frieza saga, and gave us Super Saiyans and dozens of other cool moments and transformations. It's not hard to see why Dragon Ball Z is so much more popular than its predecessor, and it's also not hard to see why it's much more popular than the hated Dragon Ball GT. An original anime series not adapted from any manga, Dragon Ball GT took place years after Goku left the spotlight to train Oob on Kami's Lookout, and was hated by practically everybody who watched it. So much so that it was removed from canon when Dragon Ball Super came around. GT attempted to combine the adventure aspect of the original series with the sci-fi action of Dragon Ball Z, but unfortunately failed pretty hard, eventually losing any sense of vision or focus, leading to its critical panning. You get it? Yeah, panning. It's like Goku's granddaughter, Pan. Yeah. It was that failure, as well as the fact that half of its villains were weird or dumb, and the series tended to just hit all the familiar beats of Dragon Ball Z in an attempt to recreate its popularity. But without Toriyama actually contributing to the series, it just kind of fell flat on all accounts. At least that's what most fans think, but there might be some redeeming qualities to it that I'll get to later. Next up, we have the remastered version of Dragon Ball Z entitled Dragon Ball Z Kai, a series that is, to put it lightly, rather divisive amongst the Dragon Ball fandom. Some loved the streamlined approach and think that it's the very best way to watch the series, and some hate all the cut filler arcs and sped up pacing. For context, Dragon Ball Z Kai is a re-edited and remastered version of DBZ, in which all the filler is cut out, both the filler arcs that didn't originally appear in the manga and the parts of the anime that just spent way too many episodes on a single moment of a battle, or just slowed the pace down too much. The result is a series that is nearly half the episode count of the original broadcast of Dragon Ball Z, and is a lot closer to the original vision of Toriyama's manga. There are a lot of reasons why this divided fans, which will be covered later, but first it's time to talk about Dragon Ball Super. After the Dragon Ball fandom got two brandy new movies, Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, it was eventually announced that there would be an entire new Dragon Ball series. This series adapted the previous movies into canon sagas that felt a bit rehashed, but were somewhat forgiven by the later original sagas that followed. Dragon Ball Super is another somewhat divisive series, but fans tend to love it for the self-aware approach that it has to Dragon Ball, bringing back the comedy of the original while playing around with the absurdity of the world and its characters. Add to this the fact that the final saga of the series had some of the most mind-blowingly amazing fights in the entire franchise, not to mention the honest-to-Kami canonization of Broly in Dragon Ball Super Broly, and you got yourself a recipe for one spicy Dragon Ball. It's a really fun series. There are, of course, other anime in the Dragon Ball franchise to consider, from the movies to the canon films and even the Dragon Ball Heroes series. But this ranking is focusing on the big four, not the movies, and, Heroes is a really odd non-canon situation that doesn't really have a place in the ranking. It can be a heck of a lot of fun, but it's weird. Well, with all that out of the way, it's time to get into the delineation process and dig into the pros and cons of each Dragon Ball anime series. Once again, going in chronological order, let's break down every Dragon Ball anime series to determine which is the best one of them all. First off, the original Dragon Ball. As previously stated, this series has a whole lot going for it. It was the start of the entire franchise and is an important part of the story, even if it's not as action-focused as Dragon Ball Z. This is one of the most basic pros of the series. It gave us the Dragon Balls. It gave us all of our favorite characters, key attacks and techniques, the World Martial Arts Tournament, Piccolo, and so much more. All of which proved to be majorly important aspects of the franchise going forward. Piccolo, you're still relevant, don't worry. But this is just the basic stuff. Dragon Ball also deserves a whole lot of credit for balancing all the genres it incorporated, finding a fun mix of adventure and comedy in the beginning, action-adventure and comedy in the middle, and martial arts action, drama, and comedy in the back end of the series. On top of all this, the original Dragon Ball also had some stellar fight sequences. They might not have been as flashy or super-powered as fan-favorite fights of Dragon Ball Z, but man, just take a look at that fight between Goku and Krillin at the World Martial Arts Tournament. It's brilliantly choreographed, impressively animated, delightfully intense, and still fun as heck without leaning too far into gag fight territory. It's truly great stuff. And it's not the only great fight of the series. And if great fighting determines ranking, then Dragon Ball deserves to be pretty high up there for the King Piccolo and Piccolo Jr. fights alone, two of the greatest showdowns in the franchise's history. Suffice it to say, Dragon Ball is not just the series that came before Dragon Ball Z. It's a wonderful and brilliant show in its own right, deserving just as much praise and consideration as Dragon Ball Z. That said, it does have its faults. The first major issue with Dragon Ball is that it can get a bit boring at times, with some episodes feeling like they blend together. Oh, yeah, and an unfortunate majority of the comedy in the series is derived from some pretty inappropriate sexual humor, or just flat-out predatory behavior for Master Roshi. Man, that time where Roshi uses a watch to shrink himself down and, well, that's Dragon Ball. Yep. However, on a less terrible note, there are definitely times where Toriyama seemed to try and shoehorn comedy in at the wrong point, ruining some of the great action and drama that he was building in specific fights and scenes. These faults and others are worth considering in the ranking just as much as the series' greatest moments. Moving on to Dragon Ball Z, there are countless reasons to love it. The first being, of course, all the cool things it introduced. Where Dragon Ball spent a lot more time on the martial arts aspect of the action, Dragon Ball Z was all about upping the stakes, boosting them power levels and building the world in cool, twisty ways. The result was the introduction of the Saiyans and reveal that Goku is an alien, retconning his tail and great ape transformation as part of his alien biology in one of the most brilliant story choices ever, as well as the Frieza saga, which baby gave us that first Super Saiyan transformation. All the great stuff that fans clung to as some of the coolest parts of the franchise. But it wasn't just how cool all these additions to the series were. The Saiyan and Frieza sagas were both incredible feats of storytelling on Toriyama's part, making for some of the best anime episodes of all time. Not just Dragon Ball, but all of anime. Specifically, the way that the Saiyan and Frieza sagas connected and unfold like an interstellar soap opera with punches and energy beams is just so good. The Saiyan saga revealed that there was power greater than Goku and Earth's warriors, just beyond the stars. The Frieza saga told us that there was even greater power beyond that, and the first Super Saiyan transformation brought to a close the tragic tale of the Saiyans, their destruction, and how the most distanced son of planet Vegeta was able to avenge the people that he had little to no connection to. It's just fantastic, impeccably crafted storytelling that's easily the height of the franchise, all of which gives Dragon Ball Z major points in the ranking. That said, Dragon Ball Z isn't perfect. It did have the Buu saga, which is often said to be the worst saga by fans, and overall, many argue that the series tends to drag and doesn't feel as important after the Frieza saga came to a close. This is all a matter of opinion, of course, but it's worth noting that Dragon Ball Z isn't completely perfect, despite having a lot of highs throughout its run. Additionally, Dragon Ball Z is known for its filler content. Little things you wish you could forget, like the Garlic Jr. saga and the series of episodes that stalled for time so the manga could produce more adaptation content, like Goku spending time in Hell, or Hiffle for no reason. This filler, rightfully so, angered fans over and over for pushing aside the main meat of the story and slowing things down to the point of destroying all tension and stakes that had been building up prior. The last major flaw of Dragon Ball Z worth discussing is the American censorship. Though the series did eventually get uncut English releases, the way in which Dragon Ball Z was butchered by American distributors trying to recut and edit the series for a younger audience based on Western TV standards severely hurt the show, especially when later releases would correct all of it. This isn't the fault of the series itself, but still is kind of worth considering for the ranking. And next up, we have good old Dragon Ball GT, which is more cons than it is pros, and since everybody's talked about what's wrong with it to death, most of it centering around being an empty shell of a franchise, let's go over the few good things about it. Mainly, it's that the series made strong attempts to bring back the lost and forgotten parts of the first series. That first saga tried to bring back the adventure of hunting for Dragon Balls and combine it with the action of DBZ. Super Saiyan 4 was brilliantly designed and brought back the forgotten elements of Great Apes and Tails. Baby's origin as the last creation of the Tuffles, the aliens that Saiyans destroyed so that they could take over their planet as a new home, was a brilliant callback. And to top it all off, making all the Dragon Ball wishes come back to bite them in the butt as evil dragons was an incredibly smart way to give all the overuse of the Dragon Balls actual consequences. Suffice it to say, for all the bad that GTA did, it did have a number of smart callbacks and decisions going for it. It's that execution that just left a lot to be desired. And now we move on to Dragon Ball Z Kai, which is the most streamlined way to enjoy DBZ. However, some fans felt that the filler of Z was part of the fun, and streamlining the series not only got rid of some of the good filler, but it also disrupted the tension and pacing that Z's slower scenes built up. In other words, Kai is a give and take. It gave us the cleanest, most faithful adaptation of the manga to date, but lost some things that people loved about the original. Most importantly, the beloved Goku and Piccolo learning to drive episode, which is completely absent from the Kai cut. Add to this the constant debate over which version of the show's score is the best, and Kai's ranking is all over the place when it comes to how fans see it. And last but certainly not least, we have Dragon Ball Super, the most recent series in the franchise that continued the story after the end of the Buu saga in an incredibly fun way. This series lost a lot of points for rehashing the stories of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F with much worse writing and animation compared to the originals, but eventually it did gain love for the Future Trunks saga and that Universal Survival saga. Perhaps the thing that fans loved most about Dragon Ball Super is that it expanded the universe of Dragon Ball into a multiverse, giving us alternate universes full of powerful warriors and lots of possibilities. All of which culminated with the Tournament of Power, a saga that ended with some of the best animated and choreographed fights in the entire franchise. Plus, Super found a way to have fun with the absurdity of the Dragon Ball universe, bringing humor back with lots of fun subplots, ridiculous breakdowns of the power scaling, and a whole bunch of dumb Goku moments that made for an overall fun series. Of course, Super was also plagued by bad animation, dragged out stories, and seemingly pointless Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue transformations, which definitely brings its ranking down. And with that, every series has been given a fair analysis. Now it's time to give a definitive ranking of every anime series in the Dragon Ball franchise from the best to the worst. Coming in at first is, you guessed it, Dragon Ball Z. Easily the most recognizable and impactful series in the franchise, Z gave us countless memorable moments, from Goku learning that he was an alien to his very first Super Saiyan transformation, and even his final Spirit Bomb. There's just so much that Z did for the franchise, building it into the model for all shonen manga and anime to come and being a fantastic example in balancing action, drama, and stellar storytelling that helped skyrocket its popularity to insane heights. Dragon Ball Z's made the biggest impact on the anime world, and is easily the most popular series in the bunch. And with only filler and some parts of the Buu saga weighing it down, it comes in at number 1 in the ranking of every Dragon Ball series. Number 2 might be a bit of a controversial surprise, but it is Dragon Ball Super. Though the series does have its faults, where it lacks in the animation department, which is completely understandable, knowing how extremely overworked anime artists often are, it more than makes up for it in being a solid tribute to all the fun and cool things about Dragon Ball, adding a lot to the lore and just having a good old-fashioned fun time with the ridiculous world of the series. Plus, it gave us the best fight scene in a long time with the final clash between Jiren and the members of Team Universe 7. Coming in at the number 3 spot is the original Dragon Ball. This was a bit of a close call, since Dragon Ball was the one that started it all and gave us so much to love about the franchise. Unfortunately, the original series really only found solid footing by the final saga of the series, with Z hitting its full stride right from the get-go. As for why Super ranks above it, the latest series managed to find comedy in the world of Dragon Ball itself, rather than leaning heavily on bad sexual humor and predatory behavior, which served as the final hit to knock original Dragon Ball down to 3rd place. 4th place goes to Dragon Ball Z Kai, which might be another controversial take for some of you Kai fans out there, but ultimately the edits that made Kai filler-free also affected the flow of DBZ just a bit too much. Tension was lost, context felt loose at times, and the overall pacing was shot to heck as a result of the mastering and re-editing of the original Dragon Ball Z. Plus, lots of people love filler, from the Garlic Jr. saga to Goku and Piccolo's driving exam, and Kai just took it out without a second thought. Kai earns a whole lot of praise for remastering the series to be closer to the original manga, but ultimately, the original Z is king. And then comes the ugly duckling, GT. Despite all the great ideas, lore callbacks, and smart decisions, all intent with these cool concepts were lost in the final product. Add to this making Goku a kid for no reason, and GT has tons of reasons to be hated, which is why it comes in last. And there you have it, a full ranking of every Dragon Ball anime and what makes them work or completely fail. Which one's your personal favorite? Let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more Dragon Ball videos just like this one.